Hello everyone, welcome back to SteamCode. This is part 2 of our Pandas tutorial series, and in this video, I'll show you how to read and write to different files using Pandas. Now, before we get started, we're going to need to create the file that we'll be reading from. Now this file, I'll call data.csv. So inside of VS Code, new file, just name it data.csv. Now this is some random data that I've generated on my own. So none of this data is accurate data or really means anything. You can create some data by yourself, or you can copy the data that I have. Check it out in the description. You can just copy and paste it into your own application for the purpose of testing it. Now save it. Head back into your main.py file. And reading from a CSV file using Pandas is extremely simple. You can do it all in one line. Say data is equal to pd.read_csv, and then link to the CSV file. So data.csv, and we're going to want to see it once we run this program. So let's say print data. Now let's save it and let's run Python main.py. And you can see all the data here. It's the same exact data that we have in our data.csv file. And in this video, I'll show you a little more on how to analyze data. So instead of just looking at the entire data frame as a whole, sometimes you may want to just look at the first few rows or the last few rows to get a quick glimpse, a quick picture of how this data looks. So in order to do that, say data.head. Now this will show you the first few rows of your data frame. Run this again. And as we can see, only the first 5 rows have been displayed. Do the same thing, data.tail, to show the last 5 rows. And then also, it could be very useful to look at what the data types of each series or each column is. Because if the data types are wrong, then you know there's something wrong with your data and that you need to clean it. So we can say data.dtypes to look at some of the data types of this data. So we can see here the channel name. Let's go back to our data.csv file. The channel name is an object. It's just a string. And then everything else here is an integer, 64 bits. So everything here makes sense, and we know that this data doesn't really need to be cleaned, at least from a quick cursory glance. Now in future videos, I'll get a little more in depth on how to analyze data because Pandas is very powerful. This is just a very quick glimpse in how you can start analyzing larger bits of data. But I showed you how to read from a CSV file. Let's now export this data to another data format. So let's say we want to export this to Excel. We can say data.to_Excel and then write down the name of your data file that you'd like. So I'll call this data.xlsx. What's the sheet name? The sheet name I'll call channels. You can call it whatever you'd like. And then I'll set index equal to false. Now what index equals false does is it makes it so that once you export this to this data format, the indices that you see here, so 0, 1, 2, so on and so forth, aren't expressed within the actual file. Okay, so now we can run this code, but you may notice an error when you run this code in that you don't have a certain package installed, and the package that you'll need is called openpyxl. So if you run into that error, say pip install openpyxl, and that should fix it up for you. But otherwise, let's do python main.py. And you're going to see that data.xlsx has been created. And you can also specify the file path. So by default, it'll export that file in the file path of your Python file, but there are many instances in which you might want this data to be exported elsewhere on your device. Now, if we take a look at it, VS Code doesn't allow you to look at Excel files. So I've got the Excel document open on another tab here. We take a look at it. It's the exact same thing as our CSV file. So we can do whatever type of analysis we'd like within Excel, within any other application that can handle these files. So this is a quick overview on how to read and write to different file types using Pandas. Pandas is extremely powerful when it comes to the versatility of what it's able to handle. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section down below. Otherwise, this has been SteamCode, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.